Hello, Earthlings. Okay, my phone's been acting weird, and it's saying that I only have like 32 minutes left of video, I guess. I don't really know if that's what that means, but anyways. Also, my last video I just uploaded, I totally forgot to plug in my mic. So if it sounds a little weird, my bad. Hopefully it doesn't sound bad because I didn't have the mic on. But anyways, this is gonna be the first video start for our paranormal experiences and uh just talking about my views on the paranormal. But I wanted to talk about in this video strictly at, so when I was like 19, I was at a friend's house. It was my best friend and another friend who I'm not really friends with anymore. Um, they had like an L-shaped couch, or like it was an L-shaped couch, but it was two couches put together that looked like made it out like an L shape. And then the TV was right here. And there was a table in between the two couches, so you can like put your drink there and stuff. And now a little backstory on this house, like we had been going there, spending the night and stuff, and we had noticed that like our keys and wallet sometimes would be like moved, and we didn't understand. We kind of like brushed it off at first, like thinking that maybe they were messing with us, or whatever. But then I think one of us finally kind of mentioned it to them, and then they told us about how like there was a 19 and a 21-year-old two ghosts there that apparently hung around to take care of these two younger ghosts who were like really young, like under 10. Um, anyway, so we're sitting down on the couch. I was sitting on the one couch up against this wall, and they were both sitting on the couch next to each other on that wall. And then we were watching the TV. And across the way of this living area, there was like two little antique type tables that were over there, and that's where we would usually put our keys to the car, into in our wallets there if we took out our wallet. But for sure our keys over there. And so we're about to watch Gremlins, and I'm pretty sure this was the first time I ever watched Gremlins too. Just to throw that in there, it took me a while to be able to watch cool movies. Okay, I was very sheltered as a kid. Like we couldn't even watch stuff about magic. But anyways, like Harry Potter came out, we weren't allowed to watch it, but my grandma took us. I wholeheartedly believe that she took us to go watch that movie. I really want to remember. I feel like I remember her taking us to go watch Harry Potter when it came out. And I looked it up when it came out because I kind of forgot when it came out, and it was the last year that my grandmother was alive. It was came out that summer or something, and she passed away that October. But just to spite my mom, because we weren't allowed to even celebrate Halloween, but my grandmother it was her birthday on Halloween, so we were able to go over to our grandma's house and celebrate Halloween, but really celebrate her birthday, because that's what we would say. We're like, oh, but we're celebrating, we're hanging out with grandma because it's her birthday. But we got to watch like Hocus Pocus and all that stuff. But anyways, so we're watching Gremlins, and it had just really started, and I was sitting there looking at the TV, and something had me look over at that table right across from where I'm sitting, and I just saw this like little apparition of a small girl who was wearing, which I don't know why they're always wearing something like this, but to me it was like wearing those white nightgowns. So I guess she was a very old ghost, like, or passed away, years ago. Anyways, so I'm looking over there, and it wasn't like, oh, I saw it in the corner of my eye. Like, I was looking directly at this little apparition, and it was just, white, and I didn't really see a face or anything, but I could feel that it was a little girl. And at first, I'm just like, holy shit, am I really seeing a ghost right now? Like, what? Because it was like, as far as I remember, because I really don't remember. I mean, there's still some spots in my childhood that I just don't remember. But as far as I can remember, although there is something that I will talk about seeing as a kid, but that'll be a different video. But anyway, so I'm looking at this, and I watch it disappear, and I'm still staring at the now empty spot. Like there's nothing there anymore. And both my friends kind of look over, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I just saw a little ghost, like a little girl ghost, and and I don't know if she like knew I seen her, or she accidentally, I don't know, maybe she did mean to show herself to me. I don't really know because she didn't like look at me or anything. But I feel like it was where we had our keys at. So I feel like she was over there messing with the keys like they do. Because, like I said, we finally mentioned this to them. And then they talked about how the place is haunted and stuff. The house was haunted. And I think I might have vaguely mentioned this in another video, but my sister could, when she was younger, she would see faces and hear voices and stuff, and it would freak her out. And so she would come over to this house with us sometimes and would stay the night. And one day, that was whenever I think I mentioned this in another video, but that was the house that I talked to her about, asking her, I was like, did you really see, like, I guess spirits or ghosts or whatever it was, those faces and stuff when you were a kid? And it wasn't to like discredit her, like, did you really see that? It was to um, kind of just talk about it because we weren't allowed to talk about it when we were young. Like I said, my mom just sent her to our room, and I had to hold her hand a lot of times until she fell asleep. So this was the same house. But anyway, so there, um, and that was the house that she didn't really like staying that night at because she would kind of see them because she could block it out a lot. But and that's what she was telling me. She goes, "Yeah, I can block it out most of the time, but there are some places that I guess are just stronger than other places, and sometimes it's like they want to show themselves to her." And so but she still ignores them. You know, she doesn't really talk to them or anything. It kind of, nothing against her, and I kind of get it, but like it kind of bums me out that she has that type of gift and she thinks of it as a curse, I guess, and she doesn't look at it as a positive thing of helping people. She just looks at it as an annoyance. And I kind of wish I could like just like, you just give me that and I'll take it, you know, because I remember, I think I talked about this in another video. I remember, you know, I don't really think I was praying to God or anything, but whoever would listen, I was like, just give it to me and take it away from her so she doesn't have to deal with it. But anyway, so back to the story though. But that was the house that I talked to her about it. But anyway, so they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I just seen that little girl ghost that you guys talk about. Like it was there, and I got it. Like it probably was like maybe 30 seconds that I got to sit there and stare at her. And like I said, I don't remember her like actually looking at me and like disappearing. She just kind of like, I feel like she just disappeared on her own. Like she might not even know that I was seeing her. But my friends were just like, "You actually seen her, you know?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it wasn't like I said, corner of my eye, I was staring right at it. Um, but what I felt was, at first I felt kind of scared, like, oh my god, I'm seeing a ghost. And then it changed to, oh wow, I got to see a ghost. Like, that's so cool. Like, I just started feeling calm, I guess. And because it wasn't like, you know, a mean ghost, it was just this little girl who, for some reason, hangs out at this house and likes to play jokes and shit. Because this was also still the same house that they told us that I don't know if I mentioned this in another video, but I was going to talk about when I talk about this. But I had to, or they told me that they like to hang out in the bathroom in the tub. They played in the tub a lot. And so every time I go to the bathroom, there was a lot of times where I just would not go to the bathroom at that place. Like we would go get like Taco Bell or something, and at Taco Bell I would use the restroom so that way hopefully I didn't have to later on. But then there was times where like I said, we were staying the night. Sometimes, sometimes we would just hang out for quite a few hours and then like drive home. But it was also whenever I had to be work at like 8 in the morning. I don't know how I did that. Stay up until 2, 3 in the morning and like get up at 8. I can't do that now. I'm too old, I guess, for it, or just didn't care about sleep back then. I don't know, but I don't know. That was just my. That's the only ghost that I remember of really seeing. Um, I have had other moments where I've felt someone or walked into a room and just felt unease and stuff. Actually, that same house, our friend who we became friends with at first, we ended up being friends with the roommate, but the one we actually became friends with, she moved out, and we went to go hang out with that other girl, even though she wasn't like. I mean, we hung out with her if she was at the house, of course, but like she wasn't. It was just because she was there. Nothing against her, like she wasn't a bad friend or anything, but we were friends with the other one. Like we would be if we were coming over, it was because we were going to go see her. And anyway, so later on though, we go back over there, and she ends up marrying this dude who had, to me, not good vibes. Of course, I didn't talk like this back then. I didn't know about my empath. I didn't know about feeling other people's energy and stuff like that. But that same room, that we didn't really hang out in that room. It was kind of like this den, but they changed it because they moved out and that dude moved in, and they changed it to where she had a little table in there and she would like do card readings and stuff. And my friend had her read his cards, and that's what we were there. We were there to hang out with her, but then see her. But we never went back because like when we went in that back room, the energy was so different. I don't know what she had done. And then there was like shelving up, and she had like these little dolls everywhere, which I have never been a fan of dolls, especially like old porcelain dolls. And now that I know more about it and that sometimes spirits do attach to them, I'm a little less like, oh, you're not being paranoid about not liking dolls, because like dolls can be. Because I think at one point when I was a kid, I did watch some of Chucky, but not like all of it because it frightened me so damn much. Because I'm like, nuh I do not want to think about some evil asshole who became a ghost and decided to jump into this freaking Chucky doll so that we can go around. No, I do not want to think about that. And then I find out that like I don't think they could really go around hurting you, because I do remember watching that and going, it's a freaking doll, why don't you just chunk it? But apparently his spirit was so strong that it made the doll strong. But I still was just like, it's a freaking doll though. Like, yeah, the spirit might be strong, but the doll itself is just like short. I don't know, mixed feelings. Anyways, and I remember helping a friend out. She was moving, leaving her husband at one point, but then they went back together, whatever. But she had a lot of porcelain dolls. I remember helping her move them. I'm just like, I'll help you move everything else, but these, that's on you. I ended up helping her, but I did not like. I was just like doing this number. Here's that doll. Here's that doll. Like I did not want to touch them. I don't know. Maybe something happened to me as a kid that really. Maybe it was just Chucky, or something else happened with the doll, and I was never a Barbie fan. But as like I said, my sister heard voices and seen faces and shit, which I don't think I knew that that could have been spirits at that young of an age. I didn't understand why she was seeing faces or hearing voices, so like I didn't quite understand it. But it did put me on a path of being intrigued with paranormal. And we just had a conversation about this, my sister and I, that she hated the fact that I would watch those type of shows with her. She would like usually leave the room and not watch them with me, but I've been obsessed with the paranormal for a very long time. And I remember in sixth grade, I guess I'm going to talk about more about this than just that one little story, but it's kind of a small story. But where was it going? Oh shit, I lost my thought. I've just always been into the paranormal, even as a kid. I've always watched it, and I've always kind of like partially wanted to be a part of it, but then I think for the longest time I was too scared to. But I would watch the shit out of them. Now I do not watch horror movies. I do not care like, what do they call it? Halloween, with Jamie Lee Curtis in it. I refuse to watch those. I don't care about some murderous dude, because to me, all I have to do is go watch some true crime shows and see that. And then in those movies, they're like showing the all the I don't like the gore and like the actually watching the actions of it. I don't mind hearing the story and them telling about what they experienced. Like, and I think that's because I'm an empath. Because I'm an empath, I can feel it just by them telling the story. I don't need to actually witness it. Like even when I watch ghost stories and they're like reenactments, a lot of times I feel like their reenactments are like more jump scare. Like I just can't stand a jump scare. I don't like going into haunted houses. Um, that are made up to be haunted houses, like they're actually purposely scaring. I don't want to be purposely scared. But I would love to go to some abandoned places and see if there's actually spirits there. I don't want fake spirits. I want real spirits. If I'm going to experience spirits and whatever, I want them to be real, not fake. And I had this one guy tell me, he's like, oh, but it's kind of the same. I'm like, no, it's not the same. Because in the back of my head, I'm like, well, this is fake. I know that that dude's in a costume and he's trying to scare me, but like, I've only been to one haunted house, and it was in Indiana, and it was pretty crazy. And what sucked even more about that was that they had a fire scare and they had to evacuate everyone. So I went through like halfway through it, and then that happened, and then I had to go back through it to get to the point where we were. And I'm just like, can I just like find where we were and like start from there? But I had to go through it again, and it was horrible. And I was with a friend and her little sister, and I was like squeezing the shit out of her little sister's hand because her little sister held my hand, so like she started it, but I didn't realize I was actually squeezing it, and it, anyways. But I just feel like I know, to me, like everyone's like, oh, there's demons and shit, and maybe there are, I don't know, but to me, it's just someone who was a bad person in life will end up being a bad spirit and after they've died. Um, so I don't think that, oh, they're all good spirits, whatever. And then I just feel like most spirits are traumatized and they don't know what to do. They're lost. And like I said in my last video, like I really want to help out not only the living of to heal from trauma and abuse, but I do want to help out spirits of any kind, even the bad ones. Um, I mean, yeah, you need to be a little bit more stern with them, but uh, to me, they're just even more lost than the other ones because I don't believe that people are born evil. I don't think that, well, there has to be evil for good to exist. I think that's the most gaslit thing that people who are bad tell us. Like, because seeing that Christians are the ones who have been going around murdering people, Catholics murdering indigenous children, those are the evils of our world, but we're meant to look at them as good people just because of their religion. And that's like one thing when I watch ghost stories and they're, or ghost investigations, and they're in there throwing that Bible around, and it could potentially be a native, indigenous native spirit. And I'm like, wow, so they got the Bible thrown at them in life, and now you're throwing the Bible at them in the afterlife. And I could see why that spirit would get mad and even more angry, because I would. I mean, I'm gay and I'm not a Christian. I used to be, but I stopped being that because I started seeing that it was just contradicting who I wanted to be. And they claim that I can't be gay. And yeah, there's some Christians out there who claim I can be gay, but in reality, the majority of them say no. And that's what I look at. The majority are the ones targeting transgender kids, you know? And so I want to approach spiritual investigations as a sense of what kind of person were they? Did they have a religious, just because they had a religious background doesn't mean they still want to be religious. And so helping them move on, especially talking about reincarnation rather than, oh, we're going to send you to the light so you can go to heaven. Instead of that, I want to send them to their next life. You get another chance at life, go into that next life. Yeah, there is still kind of a light that you see, but it's not a light to go to heaven. And then you don't. And now I did talk about the devil in my book, so I do believe that there is a hell, but in reality, I think hell is also here on Earth because hello, what do we go through? Um, what have we been going through? Fucking hell. Um, the bad spirits who continue to control other spirits, because I do believe that those bad spirits hang on to that control because they're so big about controlling people that even in the afterlife, especially like asylums, I always say it wrong, asylums, like those doctors who are supposed to be there to help them end up just abusing them. And I think them doing that and not realizing that it's wrong, they did it because they knew that what they were doing. They didn't care that they were hurting them. Um, so to me, sending those spirits who were abused by the doctors hey, they don't have power over you anymore. Go to the light, go into your new life, forget them, cut them off. That's why, like, cutting off toxic people, even in the afterlife, needs to be happening. That's how I want to talk to spirits. And then that asshole who is still hanging around so he can keep control over these poor souls, because they kill your spirit. They killed your spirit in the physical realm, so your spirit in the spiritual realm is still lost and is still abused and is still being controlled by them. So I think going to those places and telling them, hey, they don't have power over you anymore. You have your own power. And that's another thing. Like, God can save you and all that. No, fuck that. You can save yourself. You have that power within you. That's what you spiritualists are talking about within yourself now, living. So why can't we talk like that with the spirits who have been gone, was murdered, because that's what that was, them murdering those. That's why I can't watch American Horror Story. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. AMS or something. I don't know. The asylum one. Like, a lot of gay people went to those and they were tortured, they were lobotomized and all that shit. That is trauma and abuse, and I just don't think of that as entertainment. I like, okay, yeah, I want to hear, I know the stories, I know what happened, but I don't need to physically watch being done to them. And that's why I can't watch that, because like I was saying earlier about my empath, like, physically watching it happening is too much for me. I get a sensory overload, and I'm just like, okay, your reenactments don't need to be that brutal. We get the gif. Like, just tell a story, and I'm fine with it, you know? Because some are pretty bad, but those people, and like I said, I talked about the devil in my book, and recently I was watching some stuff, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm still gonna send those fuckers to hell, because that way the devil can have his way with them, because he's sending them through the dark to where they have to come out of the light. And maybe it will take thousands of years for them to get that point, but they're still going to end up having to do it. um, but there's no, like, sending them to heaven. It's just sending them into their next life, so they have another chance at having a good, healthy childhood, having parents that don't send them off to there because they think, oh well, they're disobedient, just get rid of them. I mean, that's what that was. The parents didn't want to deal with them, so they sent them to a freaking medical ward that just abused them. um, that's how I want to help people, and or spirits in general, because we are spirits living in these avatars, these fleshy, whatever you want to call them. But in reality, we're spirits. So that's why there's no gender. Spirits don't have gender, so we don't have gender. We can represent ourselves however the fuck we want. Um, but that's how I want to do my investigations: is go in, figure out, know the stories. I do want to know some of the stories, but also kind of feel what I feel, because I really want to see what I'm sensitive to. Because I know I am. I just don't think I'm not ready yet. I keep saying, I'm like, I'm not ready that. I'm not ready to see the spirits all around. Like, but when I actually go out and do it, then that's when I'm going to be ready. Um, but I want to help them in a different way. I don't want to use some Christian God to help out a native spirit that really needs to have their cultural way of helping them pass on into the next life. Because I really think it's reincarnation. It's not you're going to go to heaven or hell. I do believe that bad spirits should be sent to hell for a while, because it's kind of like grounding them in a sense before they can be reborn and hopefully, have a good, healthy childhood. Because I really think that evil people are created, they're not born that way. They've had a lot of trauma and abuse on them, so they just went down a bad path and started traumatizing and abusing other people. Instead of going, hey, that's really wrong, let's not do that. Because that's what I did. I was traumatized and abused, but I didn't go around doing that to other people because I didn't like it when it was done to me. But like, one of these stories I just watched, and a psychic medium forced this woman who was murdered by this man after being stalked by him. You should forgive him so he can go to heaven, go into the light. And I'm just like, don't force her to forgive him. And then guess what? They come back and they're trying to say like some demon took them out of heaven and brought them back. But I'm like, no, what you did was wrong, and that's why it didn't stick. She should not. That woman, that spirit of that woman, should not have had to have forgiven her stalker and murderer, killer, because he just walked up to her and shot her in the head in broad daylight, like where people could see it. And I'm just like, and he basically got away with it. They were gonna hang him because they finally, found him because he took off. They found him, was gonna hang him, but he ended up taking a lot of drugs and killing himself before he got hung. And I don't believe in killing in general, but back then it was like early 1900s by what they were wearing. So I know that that was kind of like a thing. You kill someone, we're going to kill you. But I think we need to break that cycle as well. I think that even people who have killed someone, throw them in jail, and they have to live out their life in jail, but also force them to go on their healing path. Not force it, but like the only way they can necessarily get out is if they talk about their abuse and their trauma and their childhood. Because I know damn well there's something in that childhood that they probably forgot, maybe, but have it where they have to remember that and remember why, basically understand why they are the way they are, because there's some reason. You don't just wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm gonna go around killing people. You don't do that. You went through some shit, yeah, but you also chose to go around killing people. So, like, why? I want to go to the core reason. I want to figure out deep down, why did you feel like it was okay to kill those people? Because most of the time it's just because they're men and they can get away with it, and so they did it. And that's the most disgusting excuse ever. But sorry, I really went on a rant. I was really just gonna try to do one little video about me seeing a ghost. But I just want to help those kids, because like to me it means like maybe they do just want to stick around in the spirit world, which is fine. But I also want to give them that option of like, hey, you can go on into your next life and be reborn again and have another chance to where you live longer than you're 10 years old or 8 years old, however old they are. Um, because I mean, I know in my past lives, I probably died at a young age. Um, I think I also drowned one time. I think that's why I have a fear of drowning. It's because in one of my past lives, I drowned. Um, but and I think that's probably why I don't like asylums, however you say that. Because in one of my past lives, I might have been thrown in there, and that freaks me out to think about it. I have some connections to my past lives, but not like completely. Like I don't know what I look like or anything like that. Maybe someday I'll go down that journey and figure out what my past lives really are. But I do know that since that's my true self, even in those past lives, they're here helping you. They're helping you become your true self so that way you can succeed in life about being your true self, which is what I talk about in my book. But I'm here for the spirits and the living. I want to heal anyone who's willing to heal. I want to help them, and that's why I kind of want to become president, because then I can have all the resources out there and fix the resources out there to where we can all heal. And even with abandoned houses, I want to rebuild them and help the spirits that are in those abandoned houses first, release them, and then rebuild. Like I want to do it in an order. Um, but anyways, I'm gonna get off here though, because that was way longer than I meant, and I'm apparently about to run out of time. Anyways, I only have 32 minutes for this video. I don't know, my phone. I need a new phone, but I might get my laptop out and start doing videos with it. But anyways, other than that, just keep healing, keep going, and peace within. And have a great day, Earthlings.